courtside at the National Indoor Arena in Birmingham. David Brenner, Barry McGuigan now awaiting the main event of the evening. Chris Eubank against Thulani Sugarboy Malinga for the WBO Super Middleweight Championship of the World. It's a fight, of course, that has aroused huge interest. And I've been talking to Chris Eubank about events past and events to come. What's going on? Chris Eubank, earlier this month, at a press conference in London, where he met Malinga for the first time. And it was at this press conference, as I say, that I took the opportunity to talk to him about what has gone before and what is to come.
How have you come to terms with that and decided to return to boxing? Well, I can't do anything back. I've no alternative, especially a money thing. Everybody knows my views on boxing. I'm still that way inclined. I'm still anti-boxing. Sure, you can't abolish it. I understand all that and all the argument what goes against it. You can't abolish it. It still has to go on. There are a lot more wrongs in this system, just like boxing. I have to use this alternative, this business, to make my living, to look after my family. Everybody works for a living. Everybody has to do something to pay their mortgage, to eat, to buy clothes. So this is what I do.
Do you think any fight you might have in the future could possibly be as hard as that night at Tottenham?
No. No. I was losing that fight. But, I mean, on the judges' scorecard, I understand I was maybe 6 rounds down. I thought I had lost every round, you know. The first 1 and 2, I thought, you know, I stayed with him. It was equal, but then he just left me, you know. His strength, his will was unnatural, abnormal. I've never seen anything like it before, in history or present, you know. I was only in that fight to finish on my feet as a man. You know, in my mind I was going to lose, but I wasn't going to be knocked out and I wasn't going to be humiliated. You know, I wasn't going to ask the referee to save me. It was purely a pride thing, you know. I was just there to finish at the end of the 12 rounds and maybe lose a decision, you know. There was a flicker of light which said, if he does tire, I'll get him. And it happened, well, he didn't tire. I just happened to catch him with a punch in the 11th. Unfortunately, I caught him with that punch. And it is unfortunate because my record, or this title, is not to be compared with the man's life. And that's exactly what it is. That's the hardcore reality of it, you know. He's not even 25% of the man he was. Yeah, I went to see him the other day at Bath Hospital, and it's a shocking thing to see. That can happen to me, can happen to any fighter, you know, and I say, you know, isn't life a bitch? I've got to go through this same thing again, and knowing that this can happen to me at any time, any given time. But such is the system, you know. This is what I have to do to actually survive in the system. I've got to earn that freedom. Freedom is money.
What influenced you then in choosing Sugarboy Malinga as your next opponent?
He's a stand-up boxer, mover. I think when it comes to boxing and moving, I don't think there's anyone who can compare themselves to me. He's had about 36 to 39 fights. He's got 4 losses. I don't think he's ever been stopped. It's an opponent of which there isn't anyone can criticize this opponent. He now holds championships in South Africa at cruiserweight, also at light heavy and at silver middle. So this is a good opponent.
We've talked many times before about the way your career is going to go. Does Nigel Benn still figure in that career?
The problem with Nigel is this. He's still talking. He says he hates me. He says he respects me as a fighter, but he hates me as a man. He doesn't know me, so he has no right to hate me. I don't hate him. I don't even think about him. As far as I'm concerned, he's looking for the type of confrontation I had with Michael. That will not happen. Until he changes his attitude towards me, that fight will not happen. Because what happened to Michael, I don't want it to happen to me, and even more so, believe it or not, I don't want it to happen to him. Something happened to me on the 22nd of September. and the months and weeks leading up after the fight, and it's given me a whole different perspective. You know, I know it's a blood sport, but I'm not going to fight a man who has the mentality that he wants to take my life. This is what he's portraying.
How near now is Chris Eubank to retiring?
Well, from a money point of view, I'm not near, you see, but if one were to think in money terms, they would be thinking imprudently. To earn money, hardcore cash, is very hard. You have to be, the taxman takes 40%. So therefore, to actually acquire a great deal of money is very difficult. So I'm putting my money into property. As soon as I can stand on my own 2 feet in business, I shall be out of boxing. And if I could be persuaded otherwise, then the way I could be persuaded is through the media, through these newspapers, these tabloids, these broadsheet newspapers, all these television people, all these critics, by giving me my due credit. Yeah?
Which you feel you haven't had?
Of course not. Well, have I? They've made me out to be this character, this nasty character. I am not this nasty character.
We followed your career from the very earliest days, or comparatively early days, and we have followed you to where you are now. So I think you know that we wish you well, and I think you know that our viewers wish you well.
I hope so.
Believe it.
Well, wishing me well is wishing me to get out of this game with my faculties intact.
From Eubank on tape to Eubank live. And that's cheeky. Eubank known as simply the best. Malinga, is he simply better? We shall find out. We welcome those of you watching this contest for the Super Middleweight Championship of the World, WBO version, on Prime Network in the United States and on SABC in South Africa. I'm David Brenner. Alongside me at ringside, the former WBA featherweight champion of the world, Barry McGuigan. And Malinga nearly came a cropper as he tried to do a Eubank and vaulted over the top rope. And a nice little bit of psychological warfare from the South African, simply better. Barry, I guess the big question tonight, something we have to talk about, is Eubank's psychological state.
Yeah, he's a difficult guy to suss out at the best of times. He does the most extraordinary things and says the most extraordinary things, but we all know that he can fight. That last fight against Watson was had a great effect on him both physically and I have no doubt psychologically. It will be interesting to see, has he overcome that psychologically. This guy is not an easy opponent, not by a long shot. He's a fast hitter and he's confident. And although he's 32 years old and has already had 2 cracks at the world title, he will prove a test.
The familiar strains of the Eubank theme song, Simply the Best. And they may not like him, but they come to see him. And as far as Chris Eubank is concerned, that is all that matters.